Ever since I watched my first Harry Potter movie, this magical series has been one of my absolute favorites. And if you're here watching this behind the scenes breakdown, I'm pretty sure it's one of your favorites too. Today, we're diving deep into the making of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, exploring how some of its most iconic and visually stunning moments were brought to life. From the thrill of the Quidditch pitch to the chilling Horcrux cave and even the magical transformations at Slughorn's house, every frame hides incredible craftsmanship. And so, without wasting any more time, let's begin our journey. We start with a fan-favorite moment, Quidditch. In Harry's 6th year, he becomes the Gryffindor Quidditch captain, and Ron tries out for the role of keeper. On screen, we see Ron and Harry soaring high on broomsticks, battling for victory. But in reality, nobody was actually flying. These sequences were filmed almost entirely against a massive blue screen. The actors sat on modified broom rigs fitted with bicycle seats for balance. The rigs were attached to motion-controlled machinery that tilted, lifted, and rocked them to simulate the feeling of flying. Their job was simple but challenging: act normal, perform stunts, and react to imaginary bludgers and quaffles while dangling in midair. Later, visual effects teams layered in the roaring crowd, the golden Quidditch pitch, and the dizzying broom movements, turning a bare studio into one of the most exciting sports sequences in the wizarding world. And now let's move on to one of the most controversial additions to the film, the Burrow attack scene. While the Weasleys celebrate inside, Bellatrix Lestrange and Fenrir Greyback suddenly appear, setting fire to the burrow and luring Harry outside to chaos. To pull this off, the production team built a full-scale replica of the Weasley home in an open field surrounded by blue screens. Real dry grass and shrubbery were brought in to enhance the natural look. At night, practical fire effects were staged around the set, giving the sequence an authentic sense of danger. Explosives, fire rigs, and controlled flames lit up the house and surrounding field, while stunt doubles chased through the fire alongside Daniel Radcliffe. Later, CGI was added to extend the burning environment, making the destruction look much larger and far more terrifying than what was actually filmed. Arguably the most chilling and atmospheric sequence in the film, Harry and Dumbledore's search for the Horcrux. The exterior shots where the pair arrive at the cave entrance were filmed on location at the Cliffs of Moher in Ireland. This was the very first time a Harry Potter film was shot outside of the UK. The crashing waves and jagged cliffs gave the scene its raw natural power. A few blue screens were placed strategically to allow for CGI enhancements later. Inside the cave, however, things were completely different. The entire interior, from the eerie underground lake to the stone basin and the Inferi attack, was filmed at Leavesden Studios. Production designer Stuart Craig designed the cave with a crystalline geometric structure to make it feel unnatural and threatening. When Harry and Dumbledore enter the cave in search of the Horcrux, just as Harry tries to take water from the lake, dark corpse-like creatures known as the Inferi rise from beneath the surface. And to protect against all these Inferi, Dumbledore creates a giant firewall spell like a ring of fire. To bring this terrifying moment to life, the filmmakers used a clever blend of practical effects and CGI. For the iconic moment where Dumbledore conjures the giant ring of fire, practical flames were actually used on set in controlled sections of the cave environment. These bursts of real fire helped capture the raw, glowing reflections on the actors' faces and gave the sequence an authentic sense of danger. Later, VFX teams expanded this into a massive magical inferno that sweeps across the screen. And then comes the haunting imagery of Harry being dragged into the water by the Inferi. On set, Daniel Radcliffe performed this with stunt performers who physically grabbed and pulled him down to simulate the struggle. These performers were later digitally erased and replaced with CGI in Fury. This combination gave the scene a grounded physical realism. Daniel's frantic resistance and contact looked completely real while still delivering the otherworldly terror of the inferi army. If you remember, before returning to Hogwarts, Dumbledore destroys Marvolo Gaunt's ring, a Horcrux cursed by Voldemort. This curse leaves his hand shriveled, blackened, and lifeless. To achieve this, the filmmakers skipped prosthetics and makeup. Instead, actor Michael Gambon's hand was wrapped in green cloth during filming. In post-production, CGI artists digitally altered his fingers, making them look burned, withered, and skeletal. This gave them complete flexibility to adjust the curse's severity across different scenes. In another memorable moment, Dumbledore takes Harry to meet Professor Horace Slughorn. When they arrive, the house looks destroyed and abandoned, but Dumbledore quickly realizes it's all an illusion, and suddenly a chair in the room transforms into Slughorn himself. The effect was created using a clever mix of practical performance and CGI. Actor Jim Broadbent was filmed sitting up from a disguised position, while digital effects artists morphed his movement with a transforming chair. By exaggerating his body proportions and textures with CGI, they sold the illusion that a piece of furniture had magically turned into a person. This scene perfectly shows the whimsical side of magic, even in a film filled with darkness. In the very same sequence, after Slughorn drops his disguise, we see his house magically repairing itself, shattered walls, broken furniture, and torn drapes all mending within seconds. For this, the filmmakers relied almost entirely on CGI. On set, the team filmed real props in their broken positions. Then, using digital effects, they reversed the destruction, chairs slid back together, papers folded neatly, the piano repaired itself, and walls straightened up. The final result is seamless and magical, showing how even this magic can feel spectacular on screen. One of the most emotional moments in Half-Blood Prince comes right after Dumbledore's death, when Harry furiously chases Snape and the Death Eaters across the Hogwarts grounds. Fueled by rage and grief, Harry throws curses at Snape, but Snape effortlessly blocks every spell, never truly harming Harry in return. Behind the scenes, this sequence was filmed on a real location to give the confrontation real authenticity. Large blue screens were erected along one side of the field, allowing the filmmakers to digitally extend the landscape in post-production. What you see as the vast stormy backdrop in the final cut was partly real and partly CGI enhancement layered over the practical environment. This clever blend of location shooting and digital artistry heightened the tension of Harry's desperate chase. The duel between Harry and Malfoy inside the bathroom is one of the film's darkest and most shocking scenes. When Harry casts Sectum Sempra, Malfoy collapses as blood pours from his wounds, staining the floor and water around him. Surprisingly, not a single drop of fake blood was used for the sequence. Instead, the entire effect of Malfoy's injuries, from the stains spreading across his robes to the blood swirling in the bathroom water, was crafted entirely through CGI. In the behind-the-scenes footage, Tom Felton can be seen acting out the injury without a single drop of blood on him. Later, digital artists added the chilling visual details, turning the sequence into one of the most intense and memorable moments in the series. Another delightful moment from Half-Blood Prince is when Harry and Ginny step inside Weasley's Wizard Wheezes, Fred and George's chaotic but brilliant joke shop. The shop is packed with magical inventions and endless quirky surprises. In one corner, we spot a miniature dragon with a tiny popcorn machine. This little creature breathes fire straight from its mouth, roasting the popcorn in the most whimsical way possible. But behind the scenes, this wasn't achieved with any puppet or practical model. Instead, the entire dragon was created digitally through CGI. The filmmakers shot the popcorn machine as a blank prop on set, and later, VFX artists added the dragon's fiery breath and its playful animations in post-production, turning a simple prop into one of the most charming magical details of the film. Shifting from dark to tender, we arrive at Harry and Ginny's very first kiss inside the Room of Requirement. It's a quiet, intimate scene, but for the actors, it wasn't as simple. Daniel Radcliffe and Bonnie Wright had to film the kiss multiple times surrounded by a full film crew, which made the moment a little awkward. In the behind-the-scenes clips, both actors can be seen laughing and chatting with director David Yates between takes, trying to ease the nerves. What looks like a seamless magical kiss on screen was actually the result of many retakes, each one refining the timing, emotion, and framing until it felt just right. If Harry and Ginny's kiss was quiet and romantic, Ron and Lavender's was the exact opposite. Loud, playful, and right in the middle of a cheering crowd. After a Quidditch victory, Lavender leaps onto Ron and passionately kisses him in front of everyone. Behind the scenes, Rupert Grint admitted this was far from easy. He described the experience as awkward and embarrassing, especially since the kiss wasn't filmed on a close set, but in a room full of extras. His co-stars, including Matthew Lewis, joked about how unusual it was since most kissing scenes are kept private to help the actors feel more comfortable. Instead, Rupert had to endure the pressure of kissing in front of dozens of people, which ironically added to the humor and teenage awkwardness of the scene. The film opens with a jaw-dropping sequence, Death Eaters attacking London and the Millennial Bridge crumbling into the River Thames. This visually stunning collapse wasn't achieved with practical stunts, but with groundbreaking CGI. VFX company Double Negative meticulously recreated the bridge, the river, and the surrounding skyline of London. They surveyed every detail of the real location, from the way light reflected off the water to the shadows of nearby buildings, ensuring the digital destruction felt terrifyingly real. The result was one of the most memorable opening sequences in the entire Harry Potter saga, setting a dark and epic tone for the film. And finally, we close with a subtle but delightful piece of movie magic. In the library, Hermione handles a book, and as she returns it to the shelf, the other books magically arrange themselves into place. It's a small detail, but one that perfectly captures the charm of the wizarding world. The trick was achieved with a clever mix of practical effects and digital cleanup. Behind the bookshelf, crew members were literally standing, pushing, and pulling the books into position. Once the take was complete, their arms were digitally erased, creating the illusion that the books moved on their own. This simple yet effective technique shows how even the smallest magical moments required creativity and teamwork on set. And that's it for today's video, you guys, of how Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince was brought to life with mixing real locations, practical fire and stunts, massive set builds, and cutting-edge visual effects. It's a perfect reminder of how this franchise created its magic not only with spells and wands, but with creativity, craftsmanship, and dedication behind the camera.